Most people think a delayed wedding just means someone's stressed or broke, a family illness, a lost deposit. Life happens. That's what I told myself. That's what I clung to like a life raft. But sometimes, a delayed wedding isn't about bad timing. It's a warning you refuse to hear until the shouting starts. My name is Natalie Brooks, and this is how my engagement unraveled. Slowly, painfully, and in the end, with undeniable clarity. I'm 34. I live in Boston, a city that makes you fall in love with red brick buildings, salty harbor air, and the illusion that life is as organized as the T's train schedule. It's not. By day, I'm a senior project manager at a major marketing firm. I'm the fixer. When a campaign's going sideways, when a client's panicking, when a team member walks out mid-project, I'm the one who stays. I solve. I absorb. That's what I was raised to do. My mom, Linda, had a saying when I was little. Brooks women don't fall apart. We carry the weight. She should know. She carried it alone. My dad walked out when I was 9. I remember the exact moment, his car door slamming in the pre-dawn dark, a suitcase in the back seat. No note. Just a voicemail a week later saying he'd found something better for everyone. Spoiler alert, better was another woman in Chicago. Mom covered it well. She worked double shifts as a nurse, kept food on the table, kept our rent paid. She taught me and my brother Trevor that self-reliance wasn't just a skill, it was armor. Trevor and I were close as kids, but in our 20s he pulled away. Choices. Mistakes. Some we never talked about. Eventually, our calls became texts, then silence. So when I met Derek Foster at 29, it felt like my life finally aligned. He was different, steady, patient, kind, a corporate lawyer from a family I'd only seen in magazines or on TV. Old money, private schools, holidays on Martha's Vineyard, but Derek wasn't like them, or so I thought. We met at a charity gala, not because I was attending, but because my firm was managing the event's marketing. He was representing a sponsor. We collided at the silent auction table, literally. I spilled half a glass of champagne on his cufflinks. He laughed. If the worst thing that happens tonight is I smell like Moet, I'll survive. By the end of the night, he asked me out. By the end of the year, he moved into my Back Bay apartment. 3 years later, he proposed. It wasn't flashy. Derek knew me too well for that. A rooftop dinner overlooking the Charles River. String lights. A private table surrounded by potted hydrangeas. The skyline glittered like possibility itself. I want to build a life with you, he said, holding out a simple, perfect ring. A solitaire diamond flanked by 2 sapphires, my birthstone. For once, everything felt safe, secure, real. My mother cried when I told her. Even Trevor, who I hadn't seen in over a year, sent a congratulatory text. That night, lying in bed with Derek's arm around me, I thought, this is what breaking the cycle looks like. I'm finally the woman who gets the happy ending. The first delay seemed innocent. Derek's firm was handling a high-stakes merger. Weeks turned into months. Once this is settled, we'll lock in the date, he promised, kissing my forehead. I didn't complain. I wasn't that girl, the one obsessed with Pinterest boards and flower arrangements. I wanted the marriage, not the wedding. The second delay? Maureen's fainting episode at a charity luncheon. Derek insisted we push things back until she recovered fully. Maureen Foster, Derek's mother, was the kind of woman who never needed to raise her voice. Her disapproval came in glances, tight-lipped smiles. She'd always found ways to remind me I was other. Oh, that dress is lovely on you, Natalie. Very simple. I suppose elegance runs in your family, too. It wasn't just about my dress. It was about my entire existence. But Derek had always been my shield. Ignore her, he'd whisper. You're perfect. The third delay cracked something deep. It was early March. The air smelled like thawing snow and wet pavement. Derek and I were supposed to tour the Willowbrook Conservatory, the venue I'd dreamed of. A glass-walled botanical space surrounded by cherry blossoms. That morning, I picked out my outfit carefully. Sage green blouse, dark jeans, the same boots I wore the night we got engaged. Then, my phone buzzed. Derek, Babe, I'm so sorry. Work emergency. Can we reschedule? My breath caught. My thumb hovered over the screen. This was the third time. I swallowed the lump rising in my throat and typed back. Of course. Hope it's nothing serious. I spent the afternoon in the coffee shop where Melissa and I usually met. She slid into the booth across from me, 2 lattes in hand. He bailed again? She asked. I nodded, forcing a smile. Work stuff. Melissa frowned. Natalie, 3 times isn't normal, even for lawyers. I shrugged. He's under pressure. She leaned forward, voice soft but firm. So are you, and you're still showing up. I didn't answer. Couldn't. That night, curled on the couch alone, I tried to push away the gnawing doubt, but doubt doesn't shrink when you ignore it. It multiplies. A week later, Melissa and I had lunch at a bistro overlooking the Seaport district. Spring sunlight spilled across the table. For a moment, everything felt light again. Then Melissa paused mid-scroll on her phone. Huh. What? I asked. I thought Derek was in New York yesterday. I nodded. Big client pitch. She flipped her phone around, a photo from her coworker's Instagram, the skyline, the harbor, and in the background, a man stepping into a black car. Gray suit, familiar build. Derek's suit. Derek's car. He might have flown back early, I said quickly. Or maybe it's someone else. Melissa didn't push. Yeah, could be. But her concern clung to me like humidity. That night, I went to bed restless. My dreams were scattered images. Cherry blossoms falling, a clock ticking, Derek's ring glinting in the dark. The next morning, I was organizing our shared travel folder, something I always did during tax season. Flights, hotel confirmations, receipts. That's when I saw it. Receipt, custom engagement ring order. Date, 2 weeks ago. Billing name, Derek Foster. Recipient, Isabel Green. My hand froze on the mouse. I stared at the screen, willing the letters to rearrange themselves, to mean something else. But they didn't. The design wasn't mine. Rose gold, pear-cut diamond, vintage detailing. Nothing like my sapphires. Not a replacement. Not a surprise upgrade. A different ring for a different woman. My heart pounded. My breath turned shallow. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe he was helping a friend. Maybe it was a mistake. But deep down, I already knew. Melissa's words echoed like a drumbeat in my mind. You sure it's just pressure? For the first time, I wasn't. Most betrayals don't start with a bang. They start with a story. One you tell yourself over and over. I must be overreacting. That was the first line in the script I'd written the day I found the receipt. Custom engagement ring. Recipient, Isabel Green. I closed the laptop that day, believing I still had time. Time to understand. Time to fix. Time to stay in control. Melissa? She didn't believe in that kind of time. Her apartment smelled like basil, printer ink, and something faintly metallic, probably her vintage desk lamp. She was waiting with her laptop open, glasses sliding down her nose. We're not pretending this isn't happening. I sat down slowly. I'm not ready to accuse him. Not yet. You won't have to, she said calmly. That's what Victor is for. Victor? My cousin's ex-husband's best friend. She grinned faintly at my expression. Yes, it's messy. He's also the best PI in the county, discretion guaranteed. I hesitated. Hiring a PI, it feels like admitting he's guilty. Melissa's voice softened. No, it's admitting you deserve the truth. Those words cracked something in me. I nodded. Call him. Victor arrived the next day at a quiet corner booth in Somerville. He wore jeans, a dark blazer, and the kind of expression that made you second-guess your assumptions about people. He listened as I laid out the facts. Every delay, every excuse, the ring receipt. When I finished, he folded his hands. Are you hoping to catch him cheating, or hoping to clear his name? I just want the truth. My voice barely rose above a whisper. Good answer. He slid a contract across the table. I'll need full access, financial records, joint accounts, social media, anything he uses to book travel or make purchases. I agreed before fear could stop me. Victor's last words before leaving stuck with me. If he's hiding something, I'll find it. If he's not, you'll know you gave him the benefit of the doubt. The next 3 days were a blur of normalcy so sharp it felt cruel. At work, I presented a campaign proposal to a tech startup CEO, smiled through meetings, answered emails. At home, I cooked dinner beside Derek, who whistled while chopping vegetables. He kissed my cheek like everything was fine. At night, his hand sometimes rested across my waist, gentle and warm. But that hand now felt like a question. Was it love? Habit? Possession? I didn't sleep. Melissa texted daily. No word yet. Patience. But patience had turned into poison. On the 4th night, the message came. Victor has something. Call now. Melissa's voice over the phone was breathless. Derek booked a room at Hawthorne Ridge Inn, luxury suite, 2 guests. Who? Isabel Green. She checked in under her own name. My knees buckled. I clutched the edge of my kitchen counter. I'm so sorry, Melissa whispered, but grief didn't overwhelm me. Clarity did. I need to see it for myself. Melissa tried to talk me out of it. She wasn't just being protective. She had her own shadows. 5 years ago, she confessed as we sat in her car outside my building. I watched my fiancé cheat for months. I didn't act. I kept thinking, if I don't look, maybe it'll stop. Her knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. It didn't stop. It escalated. That was why she fought so hard now, because no one had fought for her back then. I took her hand. Then help me do this the right way. She nodded, eyes shining. Always. Victor's plan was surgical. You observe. No confrontation. If you react too soon, he controls the narrative. I wore a dark wool coat. No makeup. Hair back in a low ponytail. Melissa insisted on driving her old Honda Civic. It blended in better than my new SUV. Hawthorne Ridge Inn looked like something from a magazine. White columns, soft golden lights, manicured hedges. Newly bloomed daffodils nodded in the breeze. Victor waited near the service entrance, nearly invisible. At 7:12 p.m., a black sedan rolled up. Derek stepped out. Gray suit. That same tailored cut I'd memorized. Isabel followed. Slender, auburn hair twisted into an elegant knot. Dressed in navy, perfectly put together. They laughed. He kissed her cheek, then her lips. The world narrowed until it was just them. Melissa gasped. I couldn't. My breath had vanished. Through the glass doors, they entered the private dining room. Victor's low voice crackled in my earpiece. Photographer inside, paparazzi style. Derek arranged for proposal photos. The next moments unfolded in agonizing clarity. Derek pulled out a box, dropped to one knee. Isabel gasped, covered her mouth, nodded quickly. The photographer snapped photos. A nearby couple, obviously planted, applauded. Derek slipped the ring on her finger. The ring. Rose gold. Pear-cut diamond. Vintage detailing. The same one from the receipt. The same one that had shattered my illusion. As they embraced, another memory surged. The night Derek proposed to me. A rooftop dinner. String lights. His voice trembling as he promised a future. I want to build a life with you. And I had said yes before he finished the sentence. Had that moment ever been real? I gripped Melissa's hand so hard my nails dug into her skin. She didn't pull away. We stayed until Isabel leaned across the table and kissed Derek's hand, the same way I used to. Melissa started the car. Say the word. We'll go confront him now. No. Her eyes darted to me, alarmed. Natalie, if I confront him tonight, he wins. My voice didn't shake. He'll lie. He'll spin. He'll make me doubt myself. Melissa swallowed. Then what? I stared out the window at the inn glowing in the distance. We gather everything. Every receipt, every photo, every lie. And then? I turned back to her, my voice calm and final. We don't just confront him. We expose him. Publicly. Melissa's eyes filled with both fear and admiration. That's why you've always been the fixer. No. I leaned my head against the cool glass. This time, I'm not fixing, I'm ending. In the days after the proposal, I operated like a woman on autopilot. By day, I worked, took meetings, delivered presentations. By night, I gathered data. Victor sent daily updates. Melissa documented every financial thread we found. The jewelry receipt? Just the beginning. Derek had been charging joint expenses for months. Hotel stays, lavish dinners, even the deposit for Isabel's engagement photographer had come from our shared account. Our money. My money. The betrayal wasn't just romantic. It was financial, strategic, calculated. At first, I thought maybe Isabel didn't know. Maybe Derek had lied to her too. Maybe she wasn't my enemy. Melissa wasn't convinced. She's either in denial or in on it. But I had to try. I waited outside Isabel's office, the Green and Wild PR agency, tucked into a historic brownstone in Beacon Hill. When she finally appeared, wearing tailored navy slacks, a silk blouse, and the same rose gold engagement ring, I approached. "Isabel?" She stopped, phone in hand, polite but guarded. "Yes?" I took a breath. "I'm Natalie Brooks. I think you and I have something in common. Derek Foster." Her eyes narrowed. "I'm sorry. I have no idea who you are." "I'm his fiancé." Or, I was. I held out a small envelope. Inside was a copy of the jewelry receipt and the inn's booking confirmation. She didn't take it. Instead, a security guard appeared at her side, too quickly to be a coincidence. "Ms. Green, is this woman bothering you?" "I think we're done here," Isabel said coolly. "Please escort her out." 2 days later, a manila envelope arrived at my apartment. Hand-delivered. Melissa and I opened it together at my kitchen table. Cease and desist order from the law offices of Brenner and Slate, Maureen Foster's personal attorneys. Against Natalie Brooks. Allegations: harassment of Ms. Isabel Green. Defamation of Mr. Derek Foster. Intentional interference with private contractual engagements. Melissa swore under her breath. "They're threatening to sue if you contact Isabel again." The message was clear. "Stay silent or we'll crush you." Victor read the document and shook his head. "Classic intimidation. They're hoping to scare you into retreating." It almost worked. For a full hour, I sat frozen, staring at the paper. The Fosters weren't just powerful socially. They had legal muscle, money, reputation, and I was just me. But then a new thought took root. If they're trying this hard to shut me up, I must be getting close to the truth they're desperate to hide. Melissa saw the change in my face. "What are you thinking?" "That I'm done playing by their rules." Victor's next report revealed something even worse. Maureen hadn't just sabotaged my efforts to warn Isabel. She'd been undermining my engagement for over a year. She'd bribed the first venue to lose our reservation, then the second venue to cancel due to unexpected renovations. I wasn't imagining the delays. Maureen engineered them, and Derek had let her. Or worse, he'd helped. Why? Because Maureen saw Isabel as an upgrade. Political family, social capital, wealth matching wealth. I was expendable, replaceable. And they'd nearly succeeded. But they made one mistake. They underestimated how closely I'd track the financial trail. Victor discovered that Derek had been slowly funneling joint assets into a private account linked to Vaughan Strategic Holdings, the same investment fund owned by Isabel's family. Melissa leaned over the printouts, her eyes wide. "He's not just cheating. He's moving marital assets to build their future together. He's trying to erase me. Quietly, legally, financially." I needed help, real help, and there was only one person who could handle this level of cyber financial digging. Trevor, my brother. The sibling who once hacked our high school's scheduling system so we could have the same lunch period. The same brother who hadn't spoken to me in 3 years after a fallout over a failed business loan. I stared at my phone for 10 minutes before calling. He answered on the third ring. "Nat?" My throat tightened. "I need you." A long pause. "What's going on?" I told him everything. When I finished, he exhaled heavily. "Send me everything Victor found, tonight." "Trevor, thank you." His voice softened. "They picked the wrong woman to mess with. Let's remind them." By midnight, Trevor had already uncovered hidden accounts Derek had tried to mask. Email threads between Maureen and venue coordinators, legal memos advising Derek how to shift assets without alerting me. It wasn't just betrayal, it was fraud. Trevor's final message that night: "We'll nail them, and this time we'll do it by the book." Melissa, Victor, Trevor, and I gathered at my apartment. The plan was simple, ruthless, precise. Step 1, gather indisputable evidence. Step 2, choose the perfect public stage. Step 3, control the narrative. Melissa leaned forward. "You need a venue where he can't spin this, somewhere their power means nothing." Trevor suggested the Northeast Legal Society Gala. Derek and Isabel were scheduled to be honored as an emerging power couple. Cameras, press, influencers. Victor smiled. "Perfect." I looked at each of them, my unlikely army. Melissa, the friend who refused to let me spiral into victimhood. Victor, the quiet investigator who respected my boundaries. Trevor, the brother who'd returned not just to help, but to fight. "This isn't about revenge," I said. "It's about the truth." Melissa nodded. "And taking back control." Trevor raised his coffee mug like a toast. "Let's make them regret underestimating you." Up until now, I'd been reacting. Now, I was planning. There's a difference between surviving and fighting back. And after the cease and desist, after Maureen's manipulations and Derek's financial betrayal, I wasn't surviving anymore. I was preparing for war. Trevor worked like a surgeon dissecting a body. Precise, methodical, detached. Over the next 2 weeks, he compiled bank transfers from our joint account to Derek's new private holdings, email chains between Maureen and 2 venue managers confirming their bribery to delay or cancel my wedding dates, internal memos from Brenner and Slate, the Foster family's lawyers, detailing steps to reassign financial assets into Isabel's family accounts, flight records showing overlapping trips Derek had taken with Isabel, dates that lined up perfectly with his work emergencies. Victor added his own findings, surveillance footage from hotels, restaurant receipts, photographs of Derek and Isabel's public outings, some as recent as last weekend. Melissa kept track of it all in a locked digital folder labeled Truth Archive. Every time a new piece of evidence arrived, I felt a mixture of sickness and relief. The lies were finally concrete, visible, definable. Trevor and Melissa agreed. The Northeast Legal Society Gala was the perfect place. Derek and Isabel were being honored as an emerging power couple for their philanthropic collaboration. Cameras would be everywhere. Press releases were already drafted. Melissa even managed to get me on the guest list through one of her corporate contacts. "You won't just be a woman with accusations," she said. "You'll be a guest with evidence." Victor secured backup. "If they try to remove you, we have legal grounds to stay. Plus, I'll have 2 plainclothes associates nearby," Trevor added. "And I've got the data set ready for public upload in case anything goes sideways." Late one night, as I scrolled through a folder of Derek and Isabel's smiling photos, my mom called. "Nat, are you okay? You've been quiet." I hadn't told her much, just that the wedding was postponed indefinitely, but silence was becoming a lie of its own. "Mom, he's been lying. For months, maybe longer." The pause on her end was heavy. "How bad is it?" I swallowed. "He's engaged to someone else, and he's trying to erase me. Financially, legally." Another pause. Then her voice, steel under velvet. "Then make sure when you walk away, you take his power with you." My throat tightened. "I'm trying." "You've always been stronger than you think." 2 nights before the gala, Trevor and I sat together for the first time in years. Old takeout containers scattered between us. "I owe you an apology," he said. "When my business failed, when you refused to co-sign that second loan, I blamed you. I cut you off. And now I see you were trying to protect me from my own bad decisions." I squeezed his hand. "You don't have to explain." "I do." His eyes were steady. "Because you always carry other people's mistakes like they're yours. Not this time. We're in this together." Victor rehearsed my statement. Short, factual, bulletproof. Melissa polished the visuals for the big reveal, slides and videos ready to deploy at the perfect moment. Trevor created a secure link for journalists. Once the media gets this, no lawyer can bury it. For the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. Not because I felt safe, because I was ready. The night of the gala, I chose my dress carefully. Midnight blue silk, structured shoulders, no frills, no soft lines. Melissa smiled. "You look like a CEO, not a scorned ex." "That's the point." She fastened a simple silver pendant around my neck. "Something old." Trevor appeared in the doorway, holding a flash drive. "And something to make history." The venue glittered. Crystal chandeliers, silver linens, the city skyline glowing through tall windows. I moved through the crowd like a shadow. Derek and Isabel stood near the main stage, laughing with reporters and local dignitaries. Maureen hovered nearby, her signature pearl choker glinting under the lights. She spotted me, stiffened, whispered something to Derek. His eyes met mine briefly. He looked surprised, and for the first time, nervous. "Good," Victor nodded from across the room. Melissa checked her tablet. Trevor tapped his phone. Everything was ready. As the MC called for attention, as the first notes of the introduction music played, I thought back to the day Derek proposed to me. That rooftop, the lights, the promises. And I realized something. I didn't want the life he offered back then. Not anymore. Not even if he begged. I wanted justice, closure, and my voice, heard and undeniable. It was time. The Northeast Legal Society Gala was designed to impress. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the skyline where Boston's brightest skyscrapers blinked against the night sky. The ballroom shimmered in silver and navy, law firm banners, philanthropic sponsors, corporate logos woven into every table card. Cameras lined the edges of the room, manned by media professionals and influencers alike. This was not just a party. This was a showcase. A place where reputations were minted or demolished, and tonight, someone's future was going to burn. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC announced, "please welcome this year's emerging power couple, celebrated for their contributions to business, philanthropy, and community growth, Mr. Derek Foster and Ms. Isabel Green." Applause swelled like a tide. I stood at the rear of the ballroom, hands steady at my sides. Melissa was 2 steps behind me, tablet in hand. Victor flanked the left, gaze sharp, one finger touching the earpiece that linked him to security. Trevor leaned against a column, phone ready, his calm face betraying none of the work he'd done to dismantle Derek's empire. Across the ballroom, Derek and Isabel walked confidently toward the stage. Derek in his custom-tailored tuxedo, Isabel in a silver floor-length gown that seemed designed to catch every light in the room. Her rose-gold engagement ring flashed as she waved to the crowd. My ring. My stolen future. Derek reached the podium. His voice carried smoothly into the hushed crowd. "This honor tonight isn't just about what Isabel and I have built together." He smiled warmly, a politician's smile. "It's about what we believe in: integrity, commitment, and using our success to uplift others." Integrity. The word was a dagger. Isabel placed a graceful hand on his arm. "Our journey has taught us that the truest partnerships are built on trust, transparency, and shared vision." Lies. Polished and rehearsed lies. I felt the weight of the flash drive in my clutch, the key to unraveling it all. Melissa whispered in my ear, "It's time." The applause rose again. I stepped forward. The sound of my heels against marble echoed in my ears, louder than the clapping. Derek's smile faltered. Isabel tilted her head in confusion. Maureen, stationed beside the mayor at the VIP table, stiffened, lips parting in horror. "Natalie?" Derek's voice dropped. "What are you doing?" I climbed the steps without rushing. "I'm here to share the full story," I said, My voice didn't shake. Because your version leaves out some important details. Victor's team dimmed the ballroom lights. Melissa advanced to the control table and inserted Trevor's encrypted flash drive. The screen behind the stage lit up. Slide 1, the timeline. A clear, linear chart displayed. 3 years of Derek's financial transfers. Joint account withdrawals. Hidden deposits into private holdings. Gasps rippled across the room. I trusted Derek with not just my heart, I said evenly, but with our shared finances, our future. While planning our wedding, he redirected funds into accounts I was never meant to see. Reporters lifted cameras. People whispered urgently to each other. Slide 2, the interference. Emails from Maureen Foster to 2 venue managers. Payments logged as consulting fees that were, in truth, bribes. Confirmed sabotage of my wedding bookings. A man in the audience muttered, "That's illegal." Maureen surged to her feet. "This is a lie! Fabricated! You can't!" Trevor's calm voice called from the back. "The emails were authenticated by an independent IT auditor." Maureen's jaw snapped shut. Slide 3, asset movement. Records showing Derek transferring money into Vaughn's strategic holdings. Isabel's family's fund. The same week he postponed our wedding for the 3rd time, I said, he was consolidating our marital assets into accounts tied to Isabel Green's family. More gasps. Isabel's face paled. Melissa pressed play on the final file. Victor's surveillance footage filled the screen. Hawthorne Ridge Inn. Derek in his gray suit. Isabel in navy. Derek dropping to one knee. His voice clear as glass. "Isabel Green, will you marry me?" Isabel gasping. "Yes!" A planted couple applauding. Derek sliding the rose gold ring onto her finger, the same ring now sparkling under the ballroom lights. Then, Victor's second angle, security camera footage. Different view. Same moment. Same undeniable proof. The entire room froze. Phones came out. Videos began recording. Journalists leaned forward, typing rapidly. The whispers turned into a roar. Derek grabbed the podium. "This isn't what it looks like. This was staged, manipulated." I spoke over him. "The proposal occurred while you were still engaged to me, while you were draining our accounts to fund your new life." Isabel staggered back. Her breathing quickened. She looked between Derek and the video. "Tell me this isn't real," she whispered. Derek reached for her hand. "Please, I love you. You know that." Isabel yanked her hand away. "You said you wanted a future built on trust, transparency. Was any of that real?" Derek opened his mouth. No sound came out. Maureen pushed forward, desperation erasing her usual poise. "You have no right to air private matters." "Fraud isn't a private matter," Trevor replied sharply. "And neither is theft." Reporters clustered around the VIP tables. One called out, "Ms. Foster, care to comment on the charges pending against your son?" Maureen's face drained of color. A woman nearby muttered, "Old money, new scandal." Melissa stepped to the mic. "This evidence has been submitted to the state attorney's office. Charges are pending for fraud, financial misrepresentation, and misuse of marital assets." Trevor tapped his phone. "A secure press link has just gone live." A dozen reporters received the data instantly. Social media notifications chimed across the room. The truth was no longer ours to protect. Isabel turned to the crowd. Her voice wobbled but didn't break. "I had no idea. I was lied to as much as Natalie was. I apologize for not believing her when she tried to warn me." She slipped the rose gold ring off her finger and placed it on the podium. "This is over." Victor's associates discreetly flanked the stage. Derek tried to approach me. "Natalie, we can discuss this privately." Victor blocked his path. "You've silenced her for the last time." Security escorted Derek and Maureen off stage. As the Fosters disappeared into the shadows, applause broke out. Not polite clapping. Real applause. People rose to their feet. Reporters nodded respectfully. A few audience members even called out, "You stood your ground." "About time someone exposed these people." Melissa hugged me. You didn't just end it, you changed the narrative. Trevor's hand rested on my shoulder. They'll never erase you again. Victor gave a small, rare smile. Justice delivered. I stood at the edge of the stage, the spotlight warm against my skin. 3 months ago, I was an engaged woman planning a future. Tonight, I was a woman who had reclaimed her past, her finances, and her voice. The life I thought I wanted was gone. What replaced it was stronger, and no one would ever take that from me again. The morning after I woke before sunrise. The city outside my window still slept, but my phone did not. Dozens of notifications blinked in silent chorus. Boston Daily, corporate lawyer Derek Foster, exposed at legal gala, fraud and secret engagement unveiled. WBZ News, socialite Maureen Foster under scrutiny after bribery allegations surface. Twitter trend, #stand with Natalie. The weight that had crushed my chest for months had lifted. I wasn't hiding anymore. Melissa, did you see it yet? She included a screenshot. Isabel Green. Statement. I extend my gratitude to Ms. Natalie Brooks for her courage and clarity. I am cooperating fully with the authorities and severing all personal and financial ties to Mr. Derek Foster. Transparency is the foundation of growth. I choose that path now. I stared at the screen, heart steady. Isabel wasn't my enemy. Not anymore. She was another woman who refused to be erased. By noon, every major outlet had picked up the story. Maureen's charity board suspended her. Derek's law firm severed all association. Sponsors withdrew from their family foundation. And the Attorney General's office confirmed that a formal investigation had opened into financial fraud and marital asset misappropriation. Maureen's cease and desist against me? Quietly withdrawn. Too little, too late. That evening, a letter arrived by courier. Derek's handwriting on the envelope. Natalie, let's not let the public spectacle ruin what we had. Let's discuss this privately. I'm willing to negotiate a settlement. No need to escalate further. No apology, no remorse. Just a plea to protect what remained of his reputation. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The only person I chose to meet was Isabel. We sat in a quiet corner of the Boston Public Library, far from the cameras and gossip. She wore no makeup, no jewelry, just a gray sweater and jeans. I'm sorry for not believing you when you first tried to warn me, she said quietly. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Isabel exhaled. I should have asked more questions, but when someone tells you a beautiful story, you want to believe it's true. I nodded. We both learned that the hard way. We sat in shared silence. Two women once pitted against each other by a man's lies. But not anymore. Trevor and I met at a small cafe 2 days later. This isn't over yet, he said, sliding his laptop across the table. The AG's office requested full access to the asset movement files. They're building a solid case. Good, I said. Trevor smiled faintly. Also, I have a business proposition. I raised an eyebrow. I've been freelancing cyber investigations for a while. Nothing official, but I want to make it official. A consultancy. You in? Me? You have the project management skills, the connections, and you've already proven you can handle high-pressure exposure. I blinked. You're serious? Dead serious. My lips curved into a genuine smile, the first one that wasn't weighed down by betrayal in weeks. I'm in. That weekend, Melissa hosted a small gathering at her apartment. No champagne flutes, no elaborate speeches, just pizza, friends, and a toast that made my chest ache in the best way. To Natalie, she said, raising her glass of cider, who faced fire, spoke the truth, and didn't just survive. She rebuilt. The room echoed her cheer. Victor even smiled. You're not just a client anymore. You're the reason others will speak up. I clinked glasses with them. To all of us. 1 week later, I stood in my apartment's living room, the same place where I had once opened Derek's cease and desist. Now, the walls were bare of our old photos. The furniture? Rearranged. My choices. My taste. I had canceled all shared accounts. reclaimed every financial tie. And the engagement ring? It sat in a donation box bound for a charity auction benefiting women's legal defense funds. Symbolic, deliberate, empowered. On Sunday morning, my mom visited. She brought pastries and that look only mothers can give, half worry, half awe. "I've been following the news," she admitted. "But it's not the headlines that impress me. It's that you never let them change who you are." I hugged her. "I almost did, but people like Melissa and Trevor, they reminded me." "And yourself," she added firmly. "You reminded yourself." We sat by the window as spring sunlight poured across the floor. People assume the worst part of betrayal is the breaking, but it's not. It's the silence that follows, the doubt, the fear that no one will hear you, or that no one will believe you even if they do. But I learned something. When you gather the truth, when you stand your ground, when you refuse to let fear or shame dictate your story, that silence breaks first, and in its place comes something louder, stronger, your own voice. And I would never let mine be silenced again.